Hey, welcome to another episode of Peaked. It's good to be back. My name's Frank Castillo. As always, my lovely co-host, JP Noda.
What's up, guys?
Today's guest, friend of the show, one of my favorites, just hang out with. We've been stoned many times in the back, all three of us. Guys, nice round of applause for Josh Potter.
What up? Love smoking weed with you guys.
Well, so much fun. Yeah, second time. Yeah, I think first return guest?
No, Mark Smalls is our first.
Oh, shit. All right. Second return guest.
Happy to be one of them anyways.
And Brian Simpson. And
Yeah, I was going to say, how's that possible?
you want me to go down the list, or?
No, do you have it written down? 'Cause I haven't. Before we get into everything, I went and saw Empire Strips Back, and it was phenomenal. It was absolutely amazing. I'll tell you another thing they did that was phenomenal. The Emperor is one of the bits, right? So the Emperor comes out, and all the high people that guard him and stuff, sick as shit. And listen. I didn't know I had this kink, but there's something about stormtrooper women.
No, I knew that kink existed.
So it is insane.
I've had that one many a year.
So the Emperor strips naked, and it's a person wearing like a costume suit, right? So they're like half undead, and then they turn around, and it's balls and dick.
Oh,
and
hilarious.
it's like shriveled and old. It's ridiculous. And then they jump on a wrecking ball, and they finish singing Miley Cyrus's "I Came in Like a Wrecking Ball."
Oh, wow.
And it is so amazing. I never knew I needed to see any of these things until I saw it. I was
What's
like,
is Emperor's face a mask?
it's a mask. Yeah, there's a lot of like costumes. It's really elaborate and really fucking sick. I was very surprised.
The way you described it sounds incredibly elaborate. Like, how is this not like a movie?
Yeah, I kind of wanted them to do every trilogy.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they change it up and like Return of the Jedi it up, you know, and
Yeah.
all the different ones. I
Well,
mean,
the
there's 9 movies now, so
Well, the show was the first 3.
oh, I
So it was like the last 3 and then the first 3
I
you have
see.
to see.
yeah, okay, I get it.
Now, you talked about being in a burlesque show at a comedy.
Well, no, I wasn't in one, but there was a
You changed that around real quick.
no, there was a comedy show. The comedy show that I like first started doing back in Buffalo was at a bar, and afterwards, it was a bar called Nietzsche's. And after the comedy show, they'd always have burlesque, and the burlesque was always hilarious. Like, it was part of it was like, oh, stay for the burlesque show, so people would stay because it'd be tits, and it would be hilarious. And they would start having comics host it, so I got to host it a couple times.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the same girls every time, but you know, it's
Yeah, but you
Buffalo.
never really get tired of tits. You know what I mean?
No, there was one girl I was like in love with, but she was a lesbian. So like it was just
Classic
one of those.
Chasing Amy.
Yeah, exactly. Very much so. She was like a bartender there too. And she was just so hot. I'll go home and go to that show and just to watch the burlesque show. She still holds up even though it's been like a decade.
So wait, does you liking lesbians mean you're gay?
I love lesbians.
Me
dude.
too. I
only
love
watch-
lesbians so
That's
much.
the only. I just did an interview with Hustler, and they were asking like, "What's your favorite porn?" Blah blah blah. And I'm so boring because I just like lesbian porn.
That's hilarious.
And
Is
people
that-
shit on me. They're like,
Really?
What, are you 7? You like lesbian porn? I'm like,
What's the matter, dog? You don't like dick?
yeah, that's really like the way I get shamed. It's like, I need a dick in my porn. I'm like, all right, man.
all
If
right,
you
calm
say
down,
so,
dog. Yeah.
dude.
It's got to be huge.
I need a big old dick in there.
That's so fucking funny. All right. Well, you are no stranger to getting stoned. So
Yeah, no, I mean, but I'm
let's
still
get into it.
terrible at the technology of the Puffco. Like, I don't know when to like hit it, when it buzzes and stuff. I gotta like read a manual. So it buzzed. Now
next
do I
time
do
it
it?
buzzes. It'll buzz one more time.
Okay,
That's when it's
thank
ready.
you.
Yeah. And then JP's going to give us a little breakdown on what we're smoking.
This one looks like a lightsaber.
That's
one,
the
speaking
new
of the devil.
Guardian.
Interesting. I mean, look at this thing. It's
Bro, with that
crazy.
green dude, it's totally something from Wizard of Oz.
Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, it does look like
Emerald
Wizard of
City.
Oz.
This is going to be the Apuchi's papaya, grown by our homies over at Luma Farms up in Petaluma and processed by our good friends over at Punch. It's going to be Bubba White and papaya. It's going to be straight, funky, fruity stone fruit papaya off front. Literally like one of the fruitier strains I've had and probably one of my favorite representations of papaya because of how sweet and how aggressive it is. But then it quickly becomes kind of fun, kind of funky and almost putrid. But that's also just that papaya on there. There's some notes of like some OG and kind of like everything, and that's gonna be from that Bubba that's in there. But the papaya is really kind of the star in this.
This is the funky one that you had. That,
You literally opened it and you smell like sweet papaya, but then you smell like armpit.
It's funny that we just
so
cough
putrid.
over JP describing beautifully every.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, we really kind of fucked up. So you
I
wanna
was
do-
born premature. So
You
my
were?
yeah, like very much so.
My sister was.
And so I've always had asthma.
Oh, okay.
But I've always, I mean, I've been smoking weed now for, better part of 20 years. So like it's just crazy. Like my lungs are probably still small. So I cough and I still like have asthma and stuff like that. And my mom is always like, I can't believe you smoke weed. She gets like sad because like my little baby lung, she still thinks of him like dying. She's like, it's gonna hurt you. And
How
I'm like
premature were you born?
4 months.
Oh no way. Yeah, my sister was. Think about that time too. Yeah. Were you
crazy.
Were you in the box?
Oh, for a long time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, my sister was in the box.
It's given me a lot of issues. It's called an incubator.
Yep.
And in the 80s, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's like this now, but they pump oxygen in them, and that's what fucked up my eyes.
Oh.
Dr. Drew filled me in on that. He goes, "Oh, you were in an incubator for a long time?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's why your eyes are fucked."
No way. That's
Because the
why.
oxygen getting pumped into them.
Yeah, I remember when
Wow.
she was born. It was very touch and go, and that's why I love her so much because she's like my fucking miracle. But I remember when she was on like the two. She had to have a machine that like basically like an iron.
Were
lung,
you like
breathe for
You
her?
could see all this. You were like old enough to remember.
Oh
this?
yeah, I was like 11 or 13
Oh, no shit,
when she was
okay.
born. Yeah, yeah. So it was like a. I mean, yeah, it was.
Big,
I mean, I wouldn't say
big
like
moment.
yeah, it was like a traumatic.
intense, yeah.
Yeah, having to deal with like life and death, etc. Especially your sibling, and it was so
Right.
crazy. Yeah, but then she had a tracheotomy for the longest time, and then that affected her. Just growing up, she was nonverbal for like the first 3 or 4 years.
Crazy.
Of her life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then now she can like speak and talk. I always describe her as like she's 22 now, but she's like 15, 16. She's so innocent,
Wild,
very
okay.
sweet. But yeah, she's just like have casual conversations and stuff, but certain vocabulary words are like too big.
Interesting.
But yeah, but she texts all the time and stuff like that. She's a great
I
kid.
see. I mean, my therapist just informed me that I have attachment issues, probably stemming from that. It's crazy how so much can affect you, and I don't even remember it. You know what I'm
Of
saying?
course not, yeah.
And they're like, "That was trauma,"
Yeah, yeah.
and you're like, "Well, I have no fucking
What are you talking about?
recognition of that." You know
My
what I
wa-
mean? How do I resolve something I don't remember?
So my wife, sometimes she'll just be like, I'll talk about like my childhood and stuff, and she'll say some shit, and I'm just like, what? Like, because she's a psychologist. But I remember she'll just be like, are there any like just black moments or black periods of in your memory, like you just don't remember from like gaps in like your memory?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and she goes, oh shit, and I was like, what? And she was like, that means something. That's like usually something that stems from blah blah. And like my mom will talk about shit that I just don't remember. And then
Sure.
I'm just like, oh
Am
shit.
I supposed to
what?
remember
Yeah.
shit?
I don't know. Until it's like 6th grade, I start remembering shit.
You just wake up in middle school like, whoa.
Yeah, like they're like, "Have you ever been molested?" And I'm like, "No." They go, "What if you're repressing it?" And I'm like, "Well, then how am I gonna ever remember if I did or not?" My brain isn't normal.
Yeah, I get that. What? Yeah, I guess like intrusive thoughts, or I think.
Oh, I mean, that's my whole
just
bread and
jokes.
butter. Yeah, exactly.
Right,
I mean, what
that's
are you
just
talking
jokes to
about,
us.
dude? It's
like
how
my career.
I'm so excited that do you ever just, I mean, it's really exciting to wake up in the morning and just be like in an apartment that you like and be like, I did this with my stupid fucking jokes.
Yeah.
Or like, just, you buy something and you're like, my fucking jokes are my bank account. I worked a real square job when I first moved here. And I would have just like, I worked in like an office building. Dude, I don't know what the job was. Like,
It's so funny.
like if you sat me down on the computer and told me to do that job again, I would be like, I would be like square one. I fucking didn't even know what it was when I got it. I just went to like one of those fairs where you go sit at the tables and do an interview. And I interviewed at all the tables. And then one of them called me and I was like, I don't remember which table that was. And I went into the training and like, I don't know, on day 3, I was like, oh, swear to God, dude. And it was like, I don't know, we had to call, and it's really like convoluted and boring, but like we had to call on behalf of like a clinic to like get bills from insurance companies for medical billing.
Yeah.
And we fought with them, like, who pays for it? Is it the hospital or is it the insurance company or is it the person? And that was like the big fight. And I was so bad at it, dude. I was terrible. Like I made it through the 90 days. They couldn't fire me. Like without I had to really fuck up for them to fire me because of California labor laws. And they just started bringing me into like meetings and being like, oh, we got to like show this guy what he's doing. And I found out they hired me because I just knew Excel. I go like, why'd you pick me for this job? Like, because it got really like kind of intense for a second. I was like, I'm definitely gonna get fired after like 6 months. Thankfully, I got to quit the job before they fired me, and that felt really cool. And I remember like quitting, and my manager was like, "Okay, thank you," because he was like, he was like getting in trouble for me being so bad at my, you know what I'm saying? The whole place was relieved. They're like, "That's for the best." Yeah, you're pretty shitty at this.
Yeah, isn't it great? Yeah.
I just didn't care. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to be like not the worst.
Yeah.
So there was like a girl that got hired the same time as me, and I'm like, well, this girl's dumb as fuck. I'll outdo her, and we'd be a race, I'll tell you, to get in there. And I would beat her, and then she just quit too, and I was like, fuck.
Now you're by
I'm at the
default.
bottom. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be the
default,
guy they're gonna be
shitty.
like staring at now. So yeah, I mean, but doing that job, I worked there for 40 hours a week. Oh, I made $400 a week. Like it was like
I think
a
about
struggle.
I think about that all the time. Where this is the first Christmas I had money to like buy gifts for people and shit for me, and yeah, you do it, and then you remember what the regular job was like.
Yeah.
Like Starbucks or the store, even before getting comedy money, or even just the hustle you did there. It was like, oh, you look at your check, you're like, oh, that's $450. Damn, I worked 6 shifts or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. And then you do like one set, and you're like, what?
You know? Like, this is insane.
Oh my Lord. That's how it's always been though. Like I mean, I was lucky. I mean, most of my life I worked in radio, so I didn't really have your typical job. And I didn't make a lot of money. I made pretty shitty money actually. But it didn't feel bad because I'm like, well, I'm doing something like
Yeah, you're doing what you
I
love.
get to wear pajamas to work sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like no one sees me either. It's like I can be in the fucking room wearing whatever I want. I wear sweatpants every day. And that felt fine, you know what I mean? But then when I started working in that office here, I was like, there's people here that are like trying to buy houses and they have kids and shit, and they're making this much money
Yeah.
doing this fucking job. And sure, you could get like a raise as you move up or whatever, but like, how much? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That sucks. And I'm saying like, man, it's like, I'm so thankful that like these stupid jokes worked enough where it's like, I can do this.
It's pretty ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're like, what, a couple of years in just
And God
this
bless
podcast?
anybody out there
2
doing the fucking office thing, by the way.
No,
I'm, sorry.
fuck
I'm not
you.
like,
Follow your dreams.
I'm
you
not
fucking
bemoaning you.
sellouts.
No, I'm saying like we need people like that. And holy hell, it's crazy though that they just grind it out and they fucking people were buying. I'm like, how are you buying a house with? I get the same money as you do.
You look at like the suicide rate of like dentists or like airplane pilots or like those are just the high ones. But there's regular people like that got those crazy dead end jobs. It's just like it gets scary sometimes.
I used to think like I'd see a person with like a job they hated, and I was like, well, their outside job life is awesome. You know, like they have like a cool garage or something, or they have like a hobby or whatever. Usually, like my friends at least, or like people that are in my family that have like jobs they hate. And then inversely, I had a job that I loved in radio, but I was like getting chased down by bill collectors. My car was shitty. You know, like the outside of work sucked.
Yeah.
So it was like the trade-off, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they were going to nice dinners after they got out of their job, and I was like, well, I have noodles in my my cupboard. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a trade-off with that. But now when they come together, God. Oof. And we're smoking Puffcos.
What's the last thing you bought that
God
was like
bless USA.
ridiculous? God bless USA. What's the
Well, I feel like I kind of bought my dad a car. And I'll tell you why.
That's a great
Because-
feeling.
But here's the thing, I didn't get to really feel it because my dad whatever, when taxes were going on, he like called me and was like crying about taxes. Like he's like, I can't afford my taxes. Can I borrow some money kind of thing? And I was like, I'll just give it to you. Because I found out how much it was. And so I happened to do like a crazy show that night. I like hit my bonuses. So I was like, I just send him a picture of the check. I'm like, I'm going to just mail you this check. And so I felt cool about doing that. And then I went home to visit my dad, and he had a Corvette in the garage. like a used Corvette, or whatever. And I'm like, but you needed like a grip of money to pay your taxes. Like, how did you? So I feel like he won't tell me, but I feel like I bought that.
I've done that. Sent my dad money to like help him with something, and then like It was like a picture of him and a lady on a date, and I'm like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, did I?
Hide it from me. Don't brag about it. Like, keep it in the garage. I probably never would have went in it.
My favorite one.
Or give me the credit for buying it.
My favorite one. I remember he called me fucked up once, and he was like, I'm at a bar, and he's like, I need you to Uber me home, because I know you said if I was ever going to drive drunk to just call you and you'd pay for an Uber. And I have. I was very like,
oh, that's
like,
cool of you.
Right? You know what I mean? Because I was like, I don't want you to fucking drive drunk, you know? Yeah. So he called me and he gave me this. I'm like, oh, this is kind of far. He's like, yeah, man, it's cool. I'll take care of it in the morning. Like, I'll find my way back. He was like, I just need to get home. And I was like, all right. And I didn't register that the address he gave me was different from his normal address. And then the next morning I realized he met a chick and had me pay for their Uber to where she lived.
That's baller.
So he could have sex. And then, or at least that's what I'm guessing.
That's
but I
kinda
was
baller.
just like, I was like, this fucking guy. It's like a teenager, dude.
Yeah, same kind of, I mean, he goes, well, you know, I'll play on to the heartstrings of maybe I'm drunk, but hey, maybe I'm going to get drunk. You never know.
Yeah. The joke I always make is that I'm terrified I'm going to have a little baby brother somewhere.
Oh, yeah, you think so? Dude, I found out very late in life that my dad was married before my mom. Obviously, because he's married again or remarried after my mom. And I'm like, your second one, you know, maybe on your third one. He goes, this is my third one.
And you're like, wait, what?
I go, what? And I found out from like my cousin that he was married before my mom. And I wonder if my mom knows. I don't even know, you know? We've never talked about it. I like had to hear about it from like a proxy.
Isn't that the weird thing about
And I'm like an
family?
adult. Yeah. I'm like, what do I give a shit?
There's just certain things you don't talk about, you don't realize until much later in life. Like, I remember we were all hanging out at like, it was like maybe like 4 Thanksgivings ago. We were all hanging out. And I remember we were telling a story about like cousins and aunts. And then everyone told a story about my one cousin. I go, yeah, what happened to them and their mom? Like, it just dawned on me that they just stopped showing up a few fucking, you know what I mean? And then everyone just kind of looked at each other and didn't say anything. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, she didn't like disappear. What happened? And then they informed me she had like a mental breakdown. And then like just,
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a whole
So
situation.
she was like in a home or something.
It was, they
something
were
very dark.
Yeah, very like crazy. Like, I was like, why didn't anyone update me or tell me? Like, no one had mentioned it for at least a couple of years. And I was like, what the fuck, man?
Wild.
Yeah, Mexicans are weird.
That's wild.
Well, also like just stigma of mental health in Latino families as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my dad didn't talk
Oh,
about this shit at all.
interesting. Like that's so like what's the threshold do you think, like, you know, say you have a cousin who's just like mildly autistic, or people like,
Oh,
we don't fuck with them.
So I have a perfect example. I remember growing up, my grandfather and his stepwife, they only spoke Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
She spoke a little bit of English. She was such a fucking terrible woman because she would like talk to me in English and then talk shit about me in Spanish in the room directly to my face, but everyone else knew it was Spanish. But I could like tell, like, I've been around Spanish. Like, I know when someone's talking shit about me.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or I'm like, you fucking, you know? Anyways.
I feel like you could tell that no matter what the language you're like,
Yeah.
they're clearly talking shit about.
Yeah, I was
me
like,
right
shut
now.
up. Your fucking kids are nurses. Anyways, not that we don't need nurses. But she had like a son, and I was like, what's up with him? Because he's very like weird, and I clearly like some mental kind of ailment, right?
Sure.
And I didn't know what, and she was just like, oh, they in their words in Spanish would translate to he's basically retarded. Like,
Oh,
that's
I
what
see. Yeah,
that's what they would just always say.
Well, do they have many words? Like, what's autistic
They would just
in Spanish?
they would just say he's slow. Like, they were just
Yeah,
very
yeah.
not PC or like nice or chill about it. And he was a little odd. He had like posters of like, you know, Britney Spears and like random shit in the wall of like American stuff, but he only spoke Spanish. And it wasn't until much later that I realized that he had actually like suffered an enormous PTSD from being a police officer in Mexico.
Oh my
and he was like captured by the cartel.
What a shitty job.
And,
Could you imagine
like-
being a police officer in Mexico?
And
Talk
like
about shitty
watched
job.
like something terrible happen to his partner and like never recovered from it. And the only experience I ever knew of him he was like, you know, like my stepmom's weird son that like lived with them my whole life.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy like you grow up with, and it's like, oh, my cousin's husband, and he's kind of weird. And they're like, he was in the war.
Yeah.
They'd say that.
Yeah.
Like,
And it was so funny. I was like, why didn't you guys just say that? And also, why isn't anyone just being nicer to this guy? You know?
yeah, right. I mean, I would want to hear some fucking. I mean, it'd probably trigger the shit out of him, but I'd want to be like, you had like, what made you want to do that? Like, maybe he was a police officer before the cartels were like. I mean, I don't know what year that would have been before the cartels were like huge. And maybe being a police officer was like normal. You know what I'm saying? But being a police officer now, it's like, I can't believe all of them aren't just like, nope, not for me. Like, it must be insane. You're fighting a war. I mean,
Yeah, they got to cover their faces most
they
of the
will
time.
kill you. Yeah, I mean, it's not like you could be a cop in some towns here and like never see anything crazy. You know? What
Yeah,
I'm
there's
saying?
cops in some small towns that it's like, oh, I've known that guy. I went to high school with that guy.
So I'm waiting for it to buzz.
Second time maybe, but I don't know if he heated up for you.
Oh yeah, double tap.
Double tap the
tap
front.
this thing?
Yeah, the front side.
Oh, here, let me see. I love that you're just poking it.
I can't. I'm also blind. It's really not because of the Puffco.
All right, which one's this?
This one's going to be the Fuji Lala. From
And
our-
we won't. Here, how about this? Can you focus on him and and I won't cough over him. All
That's
right, go
asking a
ahead.
lot, Frank.
So now it buzzed once and then.
Yeah, show should be good. Yeah, it looks like it's done heating up. It's the Fuji Lala from our buddies over at Surprize in Royal Key. I'm not sure what the cross is in this one, but it's very reminiscent of an apple fritter. It has that kind of like sour apple up front notes.
Seasonal flavor.
The holiday edition.
Yeah.
And then it finishes with kind of like that nice creamier gelato kind of cookie smoke. Super tasty. And very potent. That was what I noticed the most out of this one was like after I smoked, I was like, oh, I'm stoned. Kind of sent me to space pretty quick.
Hitting it? Didn't seem
You can now.
Yeah. Yeah, that sour apple part and then kind of like a gassier cookies gelato finish.
I definitely got apple fritter like right out the gate. That was interesting.
It has like that like the green apple flavor. It's very interesting. It's like that sourness to it.
I wonder if because I'm like just not smart enough. I'm like wondering if I would have known that flavor or like it would have hearkened it before you said it, or if like you saying it goes, oh yeah, that's what that is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
like
no,
wine,
100%.
or is it like wine? You know, because like people.
I think it's definitely somewhat like it's like I definitely have some influence on it for sure. I would definitely like
Yeah, because there's like wine guys
Be
that can
ignorant, say
taste
I
like
don't.
things in there, and you're like, how the fuck?
Canon.
But then
Yeah.
they tell you, and you're like, oh.
But
yeah,
I also
guess
feel
you're
like I
right.
have like a way like where I'm like I like recall the most random flavors and stuff, but like they're like very like orange Pez, like you know what I mean, or things like that where it's like people are like, oh yeah, duh, that's what that is.
Yeah, yeah, you
very-
can call what it is. People are
Yeah.
like, there's a flavor that I can't put my finger on. You're like, creamsicle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
something-
Yeah, which I feel like I've figured out how to do, which is I love.
That's
I mean,
great.
I just love hash.
Is there a word for a weed sommelier?
So I think there are programs going on, but I don't know.
Do they get their own word? Like
actually-
sommelier is obviously wine.
Yeah, I think there is a name for it. I
I
haven't.
saw someone testing for it. They give you like a kit, and it's different vials of
Terpenes.
terpenes.
Ooh.
I'm out.
You don't like the terpenes?
I'm out.
I love putting them in.
I think it's
beer.
just too much because I mean I don't know, like I get it, and like I think it's definitely like needed, but I was like I want to like relate this stuff to like the everyday person at home who doesn't know what the fuck linalool is,
That's a
or
great,
doesn't know immersion. You know what I
great
mean?
counterpoint.
And so where it's like yes, it's important and it's going to speak to a lot of people, but I want like people who are watching our podcast or people who like come into a store to be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I'd like to try that. You know what I mean? Where like you can definitely speak on the other part, but yeah, I just don't know if they're as important.
Well, that's also a good point to bring up, and that's a good point of view from your aspect as someone who's literally on the other side of the counter selling weed to someone, to essentially us too, if we were to walk into a dispensary.
And there are some people who do appreciate that extra. I just feel like it so far I've had a lot of people like enjoy this or have had more success with this.
Like his breakdowns, like if he gave you that breakdown in a dispensary, would that help you buy
I'm
stuff?
afraid that I wouldn't. That's the thing. I am such an animal, and maybe people are, as it's becoming legal and like these places exist where you can be introduced to weed that way. Like I used to buy weed from a guy named Gilly, and he gave me an eighth one time in a DVD box. Loose in a DVD box. I mean, that was just the weed. That, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't hear about flavors. We didn't know indica. We didn't know. It was the weed that was available. And so when I go into a dispensary, I find now percentages, and I just go, give me the highest one.
So there's a big thing that we're like, so
I don't care which.
my biggest thing is the percentage is definitely which can get you high. Think about it this way, where like your terpenes are this flavor and smell, basically. Those are going to be your navigation, and then your THC percentage is going to be like your fuel for your rocket. So it's going to decide how high you get,
Right.
but your terpenes are going to decide how you feel.
Right.
So like certain sativas, like if you have a lower testing sativa, those sativa terpenes, depending on how you like do sativas, you might feel higher off that sativa than you would a higher testing indica.
Yeah,
just 'cause
I've
of the head
learned that
change
too. Like, indicas make me sleepy. Sativas
But
make
it's also
me like do work. Like,
all
I'll do
subjective,
laundry.
100% as well.
It's like for who you are.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely. Same with people who like
These
take
things
Adderall,
make me
like
feel
when
I'm
they have
on
ADHD.
Adderall, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
where
what,
it focuses.
I mean, these make me more focused, like zoned in.
I find a lot of dabs, especially like higher quality, like rosins and everything, they're just a lot cleaner of a high, and there's less because you're not smoking like all the plant matter. You're not just burning chlorophyll and like kind of inhaling that like you would if you're smoking other things. So it's a little more of a like a just THC and terpene kind of high. So it's a little cleaner, I would argue. I still love smoking flower or take bong rips every day.
Me too.
But that definitely, this is like, it's a very different level of it.
Yeah, I've definitely gone on hash and rosin a lot more. I still smoke weed. Shout out Sour Waves. I still smoke weed and roll it up, but rosin's just kind of the way I go now. I mean, do you still fuck with wax or crumble or anything like that?
I mean, I sprinkle it on the, like, it's probably not even doing it right, but I'd sprinkle it like on a bowl or whatever, and like,
If you're taking a snap, it's like, fuck
Yeah.
it, send it.
and so I do that. But like, see, I'm so like, and it's maybe the way that I live my life, very like, I guess just lazy for the most part and minimalist. Like, I just love simplicity of packing and smoking a bowl. And then if you buy a shitty bowl, it gets too gross. I don't even fucking boil it or whatever. It's like, it's gone. And then I just buy another shitty bowl. Not very environmental over here, but you know what I mean?
hey,
Like,
man, you're supplying a,
No, totally,
a,
though.
yeah,
a
no.
glass
So
artist.
I mean, exactly. So I'll just like buy or same thing with a bong. I never buy like an expensive bong. I just buy like a shit bong, and then like I'll try and clean it. But I'm not getting in there and fucking pipe cleaning it and shit. Like, I'm like, this bong's gross. Goodbye. I go right to I find my spot. I know like the head shop, and I go in. But I'd love that's the thing that scares me about one of these. I'm like scared I won't clean it enough.
They're super easy though. That's what like, especially with like the difference between the first generation and second generation of Puffco. Like,
It's getting easier.
dude,
and
these are
easier,
so easy. You
probably, yeah.
literally just unscrew the heating element, the atomizer, and you submerge the whole thing in isopropyl. And you literally let it.
That you go, it's so easy, and then you said words that are insane. You said,
Submerged
"And
in
you gotta
isopropyl."
submerge
drop
the
it in
atomizer in the isopropyl. That's what you just said after saying it's so simple. Now maybe those words are like verbiage that you folks know at home, but that's blew my mind. He goes, it's so simple. You put the atomizer and you submerge it in isopropyl or some shit. I don't even know what that is.
Alcohol.
See, I want to know that, like rubbing alcohol or whatever. Just say that next time. That was hilarious.
That's the thing. Well, because when people that dab,
I was like, am I the only one that just...
I guess I'm so used to it because dabbers have a whole setup where it's like it's like a whole fucking thing with the slurper and then like a bottle of ISO and then like marbles and then a thing and then a torch and whereas like so I guess for a guy that's like you just take this off and put it in that, it's 2 steps, and if you're normally dabbing it's like a million.
How long do you keep it in there?
12 hours. I keep mine normally like kind of like not overnight, but like 12 hours or so. I guess that is
I usually have
overnight.
a backup just in case.
Sick.
50?
But then you let it
15?
just like air dry after that, and it's good. And then you pop it right back in.
I'm so high. What dab are we on?
We just took our second one,
Oh, okay, cool.
so we still have another one.
We still have another one. Yeah. All right, cool. Just checking, man. Hey, this isn't our second episode in a row.
It's not. We're wearing different
No
clothes.
shit, that would be tough, probably.
What, a lot of dabs?
Yeah, I mean, that's like 17 dabs. Yeah.
How many dabs have you done, do you think, in a day? I mean, I think the most
I mean,
you've
I
done
could
is-
keep going. I mean, I never really say die, and that's... I know that's like a scarcity
like I'm
mentality.
not a bitch.
No, I mean it's not even that. It's like I'm the guy that always in the same. This is the thing with a bowl. Like if it's very communal, or at least it used to be. I don't find people smoking bowls in circles very much
Not
anymore.
as much, yeah.
It's a when it was illegal thing.
Well, now like companies have made it so easy to go buy a pre-roll pack.
Yeah,
or a pre-roll
exactly.
where it's
Everyone's like,
people
I
just-
got my
yeah.
own joint, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, okay.
We're adults. We have money.
Yeah. It's so there's something I'm nostalgic to me about. So like I don't know. Every now and then I find myself in a circle, and obviously it's my bowl and I'm packing it, but I just keep going around and packing it. And but by the time, all of a sudden I'm noticing I'm reaching my hand out to people and everyone's passed. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I go, oh yeah, we have to. Some people they have to stop, but I would have just kept. And then it makes me sad that it's over.
No, I feel
know?
that for sure. Especially with a bowl too, because the smoke volume compared to like a joint where you smoke and you can inhale a little bit and like you can get as high. But if you take even like off a spoon pipe, just a fat rip.
Yeah. You can get. That's the thing. It's like your own discretion.
Yeah.
I guess a joint is too, but
I'm gonna pack this.
My first memories was I'd buy like a nicer eighth at a dispensary like a medical club and then go buy like a bowl and just use that. That's how I smoked.
so you always were buying weed from like a place.
So when so the first time I smoked weed, it was like I've always lived in the Bay Area, so we've always had access to it, like medical weed. So like my first time was like a friend's sister's boyfriend who like when we were in high school who had a medical card. But then after that, when I got back from college, I was 18 and I dropped out and started smoking weed every day.
Every day?
Every day. I think I've had 3 days that I know for sure.
Buzzed. Shit.
Back to it. I think I've had 3 days in the last probably since I started smoking weed where I haven't smoked weed. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Every day consecutively except for 3 days where I was sick or whatever.
Yeah. It's definitely when I got to the age where I was in my 20s where I was I have disposable income and then people spend it on beer or material things. I was just oh, I think I just want to spend on really good weed.
Do you remember the day? Well, I guess you guys just described it, but I remember the exact moment I go, I want to do this every day.
Oh, what was it?
I was 19, I think. Or no, I was 20 years old because I had my first apartment and I was buying eighths here and there. Lasted me forever, these eighths. I'd smoke one bowl and go to sleep and I'd be I best sleep of my life. And I would start going to parties and people would have weed and I'd, hit a little bit. But then I turned 20 and I was drinking is just not agreeing with, because I was getting blacked out. I was having blackout, yelling at my friends and stuff like that, being a real asshole drunk.
Yeah.
Just drinking liquor and not knowing where to stop. You're just doing shot, and just getting annihilated. Just typical college shit, and feeling like hell the next day. And then I would smoke and I'd realize I'm just sipping on a beer the whole time. And I'm still having a great time and I'm not being an asshole, So that's when I was I want to smoke weed all the time. Weed is the best. It makes me more motivated, I feel too. It gets me out of bed sometimes. I was depressed, So I fucking love it. And then it changed my life. I really do feel that way. It gave me some ego death, I feel and a lot of stuff.
Hell yeah.
Made me more chill with my family.
Yeah, no, that was a big part for me as well. The first time I remember, the first time I was oh, I'm going to do this every day is when I walked into a dispensary and a medical shop and they had lemon bars, edibles. Like homemade, made a couple of days before lemon bars. I was oh yeah, I'm back here every day.
You know what's great? So did you grow up in California?
Yeah, the
Okay,
Bay
so
Area, so it's literally always been around.
what's crazy is I came here in 2007 for the first time. And I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, I don't even know where it would have been. I was here for a radio thing to do Jimmy Kimmel Live, to just go watch it, essentially. And I just was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and I was I really wanted to buy weed, and I didn't know how. People said just walk up and down Hollywood Boulevard, and I'm okay. And somebody did offer me, and they go $20 for an eighth. I'm that's crazy. That's so cheap. And I'm at the very least, I lose $20 if this guy fucks me over. So I gave him $20. He went in a building and he came out with a fat sack and he was welcome to Cali. And I was this shit's
so
nuts.
Well, too, also the old medical days, there was a lot of spots in Santa Cruz where you go and their eighths were 5 grams.
Yeah.
That was just what it was. That's just how they did business. They
I go,
always
this is
moved
an
volume.
eighth. He's yeah, it's crazy. I mean, so that was my first time
And
here,
a
but-
full bud too, actual, and you're what the fuck?
Yeah, dude, they were fat like trees.
Yeah.
I stunk too. It was hilarious. Yeah. And so and then I had to like smoke it out of a can or whatever. I didn't know and I was so hot. I remember being just so fucking lit and just walking around like the Troubadour and shit. It was up in, I guess, West Hollywood, but I fucking knew when I came home, I'm like, I want to smoke weed every day, but still going home until I came here in 2017, I was buying weed off like a dealer.
So
You know what I mean? It was always sketchy.
Still
and, like,
alive now.
only time I bought weed from a person, really, I mean, now here and there off homies, but like back then was in college. I went to Arizona State, so there just wasn't that any of that stuff. But our dishwasher Chipotle I worked at was would sell me bags of shake for like $80 for an ounce.
Damn.
And so like it was probably in like, I mean, Arizona, I guess, yeah, it's probably fine the price wise, or but I would like have that and just smoke shake for fucking
Arizona's like, that's like where weed doesn't exist, I feel.
yeah.
Remember, it used to be a thing back in the day where you were like a guy who was like, yeah, I know a guy who grows weed, and then you just had like fire ounces, and you're just like, oh, that's you know the guy, you know the
Boiled in
plug.
the bay, yeah.
Yeah.
What was cool was like I had like I finally like as I got older would have more like chill dealers. It's so weird calling him a dealer, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. It's just like a guy you know who sold weed, and you're like, cool, he grows it or like he gets it from a guy or whatever. And finally, like it went from like just some shady guy that would meet you in a parking lot or someplace weird where you're like,
So
this
what
is
was
sketchy.
shady about that?
Because it was sketchy, like just like you know, it felt dirty. It felt like you were doing a thing. And I've had friends get like stopped by the cops after it. They see it because you're just like out there doing it. It's like, can't we just do something like chill? Like, I don't know. It doesn't have to be that complicated. And like I had one guy that I just refused to use because he would make you sit in his apartment for 45 minutes at least. I'm like, I don't have time to fuck. I just want
So
to.
people think you're actually hanging out with them.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Not just going to buy weed. And
not
drugs,
just coming
yeah.
and going. So like that sucked. And he had like a house. So it wasn't even an apartment. He had like the whole house. So like who gives a shit? But he had like, you know, the neighbors, man, you know, like whatever. So finally my last, like the guy that I had for the last few years before I moved here was like a kid I went to high school with that was like, hey, by the way, you know, like I sell weed if you ever need any. And I was like sick. And he was the best. He was just like, come on by whenever you want. Or he was like starting to deliver to me when I didn't have a car toward the end. He would be like, where are you? And I'd be like, I'm at my house. He's like, right there. And he would drive over and drop it off.
Fire.
I'd be like, leave it in a shoe with the thing. You know what I mean? The
Godsend.
money's down there. I wouldn't even have to talk to him. He's just like, skadoom, skadoom.
That
Switch it up.
drops.
Yeah, but that was like the shitty shit you had to go through. And then you move here and it's like, and I got here right before they made it recreational. Like I couldn't for the first 3 months I lived here buy it because I
Because
didn't
you
have a
didn't have a
medical card.
California IDs, you couldn't get one.
Right. So I had to wait for the new year. So I was like, fuck. So I had to like still kind of be like, call my friend and be like, hey man, can you buy me weed? And I'm like, I feel like I'm doing it in a dirty way still.
Double tap. Yeah, but that's what gets the blood pumping. You know what I mean? When you feel like, oh, I could die at any moment. What? Now I get good weed? All right, cool.
Perfect. This one is going to be the Z berries, grown by our buddies over at Luma Farms and processed by Papa Select, Papa and Barkley. It's going to be Skittles and strawberry banana. It really tastes like Skittles, the candy. You'll notice that's super sweet, like almost like a handful of different flavor Skittles. But then that strawberry banana does add a sweet berry flavor to it. And then some of the creaminess that you'll get on the end is also from that strawberry banana. But you'll notice just that candy, like it really tastes like Skittles.
Oh yeah. I taste the Skittles, baby.
Taste the rainbow. Dog.
rainbow.
Sounds like you're exercising a demon, dog.
Yeah, man.
I gotta take sips sometimes, you know.
I have been enjoying the the travel glass and the mobility.
Been enjoying this.
Oh, because like I went to my friend's spot and he's got like a setup, which is fine, but it's like, you know, there's after hanging out with the Masonic and all those guys are like, they're so like meticulous with, you know, how to take it. And then you go to some places and everything's like charred and just black and like there's still residue. They haven't cleaned it up. And I was like, oh, damn. Some of y'all living in the Stone Age.
That's how it was when we first met, and then I got a Puffco.
Yeah, but you
Heady
cleaned
boy.
yours. You
Yeah,
were a
yeah.
heady
Oh,
boy.
yeah.
What are you talking about? Like
The rigs, like dad rigs, you go buy like a nice rig and like have a nice like quartz nail, which is what you heat up with the torch.
Oh, that shit was like, there would always be a guy with like at a party who's like, you want to hit the dab rig? And he'd be like, he looked like Tommy Lee or some shit. You know what I mean? He'd have like tattoos and shit. And he'd be like firing up a nail.
We get so high.
Oh, it was so good, dude. I would hang out there all the time. Like, he's like, you're back for another one. This guy's nuts.
Oh man, if you want to take dabs, you got to come with me to Fairfax on Sunset. You still got to come too. Bring your rig.
Come hang out.
There was a dispensary when I first moved to LA that was so close. I don't know if I told this story last time. Stop me if I did, but it was like on the way home from an open mic, and I would go there every time. And if you spend $20, they let you hit a dab. And it was so fucking awesome. So I'd buy a $20 edible that was 200 milligrams, and I would just eat it, do the dab, and try and race it all home.
Oh my god! Try to outrun the high.
During the heat, one time it was real hot. I started crawling up my step, dude. And I like knocked on my door and just laid on the stoop, and my roommate had to open it because I couldn't like find my key. I was like, oh, it's hitting me so hard. And I laid down, and then I just had to get in the air conditioning and like lay on the couch, you know? It just was so intense.
Sounds
I was like,
awesome.
I am fucking wrecked. And he's like, are you okay? I was sweating and shit, you know? He thought I was dying, but it was a ride.
The dab sweats.
I've dosed myself so many times now. I feel like, you know, I have to do
Accidentally?
that. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I
Hannah's.
stopped really kind of with the
I
edibles.
feel bad with Hannah because there was a time where people were just. JP knows me. I burned through shit so fast, and someone gave me a bunch of edibles, and it was like syrups. I think it was actually Paper Planes extract.
Good
They gave
homies.
us really good syrup. Just bottles, and you mix.
No,
it
I
with-
love that. Is that like a tincture?
Yeah,
But it's a syrup you add to sodas or juices.
yeah.
I do it with beer.
Like more like
Yeah.
sweet.
Are you not supposed to?
you
That's okay.
can't.
I would
definitely add
on
vodka to mine.
during the pandemic. I would buy tinctures, and I would be on Twitch, and I'd shotgun a beer, and I'd put a pump of the tincture in every shotgun, and I would do it after every game, pretty much. And
What
I
would
would
you
do.
play?
I would play until I finished a 6-pack.
MLB, right? Usually.
MLB, or I'd play Madden. And so like between games, I would.
You played the new PGA yet?
No, I
It's
do want to
good,
get it.
dude.
I
It's
love.
harder.
I love golf video games though.
No,
I did
it's
play
so
the
good.
old one.
It's more like you need to like learn. It's more of the same game, but like the systems are like more in depth, so you like have to learn it more. It's fun
I'm on
as
a
fuck,
real
but it's hard.
NHL kick. We just got the new one, and we've been trying to get our XP up because you have to start basically all over in the new game.
It's the same with fucking this one now. Before
Yeah.
there wasn't like a ranking system. Now you start with nothing. So your first
Exactly.
like 3 tours are ass.
Yeah, that's what I hate. You got to get through that shit period.
Yeah, they're like, or you could spend 60
Yeah,
bucks.
You'd buy the shit.
I mean, it is $60 every. And I said like, we get fooled. EA Sports really has a racket going. It's
Oh,
just because
yeah.
we have an addiction to this. I have
Yeah.
an addiction to the sports games. I'll buy them every year, the certain ones, and it's just a $60 roster update.
Yeah.
And like, oh, cool, the new uniforms.
And I'm pretty sure they offer roster updates already. Like you can go online updates
Yeah.
like when there's trades
Sometimes,
and shit.
you know what they're doing now, though? I feel like they're getting, it's like a conspiracy. This is my tinfoil hat
Your video game tinfoil hat.
moment. EA Sports and the leagues are all in cahoots, and they're making new jerseys every year because that makes me wanna. I got to get the new game for the new jerseys.
Keep rocking the old shit.
Oh, like the Jets have black helmets now. I got it just for that. Like, I don't even like the Jets. I don't play as the Jets, but I just like want to see
So the
it.
one time you play them a year.
Yeah.
So Modern Warfare 2 has gotten me. It's bad, dude.
I wish I could get into that shit, but I'm
It's-
blind. So
yeah.
like, it'd be like me in Real War. I suck. I can't see the guys. I'm too blind to see the guys.
So now it's proximity chat, so you could just tell them.
Guys, I'm blind.
Hold up, guys. Hold up.
People are like, Josh, you're running into like a rock or something. I'm like, I didn't see it. I'm looking beyond. I'm trying to not die. You know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean?
if you
Like,
killed someone, that'd be so great.
no, I played with like Jeremiah a couple times, and he was like, wow, you killed like 4 people that time. I'm like, he's like, that's crazy considering everything, you know, and it's your first time playing it. But I just don't. I mean, I'm just like,
What's the most?
it doesn't
embarrass-
juice me like playing sports games.
What's? I feel bad for asking this question now. But
Yeah.
what's the most? What's the like most embarrassing thing you've ever had done because you've been blind? And what's the coolest thing you've accomplished while being blind?
I think the fact that I can like navigate a dark room pretty successfully, like even if I do run into something, I'm not like, I don't know how to describe it other than like bullish, where like I will go with such momentum and you know what I mean? Like I'm pretty
Nimble.
nimble. Yeah, like I have good balance, and also like if something I encounter it's like almost like I can touch it and be like, oh, that's a thing, and figure it out. So I think just my day to day is my best accomplishment. But I've done things. I've gone like from the other side of the house and gotten stuff. I can see, that kind of thing. I feel like is for most people that would be tough. But the most embarrassing one is easily like well documented is when I fell into the moat in front of Ali Makovsky at her podcast. Like I walked straight into a body of water, like with the confidence of it being the ground, and right in front of a person I had just met. And like now we're like linked forever because of like
Yeah, that's a great introduction.
yeah, we're like, and it's so weird. Yeah, it's just like a weird, like every time we see each other, we're like that fucking thing. It's
That
like
fucking moat, man.
it's linked us together forever.
All right. Oh man. All right. I'm fucking so ripped. Anything you want to plug before we start to get out of here?
No, Josh Potter shows every Tuesday. That's about it. It's on YouTube and on all the audio places. Check it out.
Thank you so much, man. JP.
Thank you.
Nothing.
All right. Thank you, Puffco. Thank you to the rosin that we had today. Love you guys.